Uzma Ahmed described Pakistan as Maut ka Kuan, the well of death. And Indian diplomacy pulled an Indian national literally out of the jaws of death. We are going to talk about the story of Uzma Ahmed, a 28-year-old Indian national who was trapped in Buner in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We will also talk about the effort of the Indian diplomacy to help an Indian national trapped abroad. I remember late Sushma Swaraj, then External Affairs Minister, saying that the Modi government's foreign policy was never leave one of your own behind. And with me to talk about the diplomat is superstar John Abraham. John, as always, welcome on India Today.
I'm very happy to be here with you.
It's great to have you back. But you know, this superstar who's like really well built is one day a nuclear scientist, another day is a terrorist killing super cop, and now is a diplomat in the heart of hostile Pakistan. What made you choose the diplomat?
The story, Gaurav, the script. The script was lying on my table. No intention to do the film. Read it. And you know, usually when we read Hindi films, like I said, those scripts kafi vahiyat hote. You know, like sometimes you read it and it drops. For me, this didn't drop. I read it till the very end and it worked. And I called up the producer, the co-producer, and I said, I'd love to do this film.
Really?
Yeah, just the story was so intriguing and I read it till the last and I said, it's beautiful.
I've seen the film and for me, and I've covered Uzma Ahmed's case.
And I'm glad you've seen the film. I'm very glad you've seen the film.
And for someone like me who covered Uzma Ahmed's case, who knows JP Singh, you know, India's then Deputy High Commissioner to Pakistan, who's reported on the tough situation between India and Pakistan.
Correct.
It was actually rewind to those days and seeing so many aspects that even I didn't know what was happening, except some private conversations, you know, with diplomats at that point of time. This was literally pulling her out from the jaws of death.
Correct.
How did you know, get it all together? A girl, an Indian Muslim woman, gets drawn to Pakistan and is taken to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So, you know, how did it all come together for you to depict it, to put it together and to do it?
I think what I told Shivam first, my director, Shivam Nair, just like your director of the show, I told my director, you know, we need to get the casting right.
Yeah.
You cannot cast anybody who is a name in this film. You have to get, the casting has to be perfect, which is why our first casting was Uzma. We got this girl called Sadia Khatib.
Yeah.
Brilliant job she's done in the film. She's worked hard, done a great job. And then we cast the other members of the embassy. And then we cast the guy who's playing Tahir and his friend Bashir, which was, if you see the casting, it's fantastic. Those boys are fantastic.
Yeah.
And the ISI head, you know, played by Ashwat Raina, you know. So I think the casting was most important. We went into workshops, and I'm cutting the long story short. I also did a lot of coaching. I had an acting coach.
In fact, I was just coming to that.
Yeah.
To play JP Singh cannot be, you know, cannot be very easy because he has a very warm smile, but he has a very tough interior. I mean, we've met him when he was in the XP division in Delhi and then as Deputy High Commissioner in Pakistan and then Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan desk. He's a tough guy.
Yeah, very tough, and he's always smiling on the face of it. But if you ask him a very pointed question, he'll search you. He'll search you and say, where's this? And he's very guarded when he has to be guarded.
Yes.
He will circumvent an answer when he wants to. So he's very sharp. So I spent a lot of time with JP to study his body language, to understand where he comes from, how he thinks. My director gave me a lot of input because he spent a lot of time with JP.
Right.
So, and then finally just doing your workshops. So I did my workshops and shot the film. Shooting was the easiest part.
Really? Because it's so real. It's so real in terms of, I mean, I've seen the movie and I can't give it away. I can't give away the plot, but I really want to talk about the fact that, I mean, there's a woman in a burqa. She comes to the Indian High Commission and says, let me in.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What a tough decision, whether you let her in or you don't let her in. What are fears that a diplomat would go through? You were able to depict that with your actions. What are those fears?
The fear, I mean, again, without letting too much out, one of the fears was, I mean, she could have been anyone. She could have come in and bombed the embassy because it could have been anyone. When you're covered, you don't know whether you're strapped with bombs.
Yeah.
So I think the most difficult decision was to let her in. But then the call to let her in was also taken because there was a security check done on the outside.
Yeah.
So there was a sense of, shayad iske upar, she wouldn't be carrying anything on a person.
Yeah.
So after letting her in, checking her passport, making sure that, so we had to run through a lot of things. But the beauty during the shoot was, I was not allowed to meet Uzma's character.
Oh.
The girl who played Uzma Sadia, I was not allowed to meet her. So I did not know anything about her before the shoot. The first shot in the film where you see me face her is the first time I saw her.
Really? Oh, that's where it looks so genuine.
So real. As I'm searching, I'm looking at her and I'm wondering where she's come from, and I didn't know what she was belting out, the lines she was saying. I had no idea. I had to react to the situation. So the first time when I see her, I've actually reacted to the situation. मतलब पीछे का गेट देख लिया, अभी आगे का देख के जाओगी.
And you know that is a fear in my mind,
yeah,
that she could be an ISI spy.
Anybody. She could be anybody. She could have any agenda and come in. So I had to really search her and look at her. And if I don't get my audience there, and if they don't forget John Abraham there, and if they look at JP Singh there, we have won the battle.
Yeah.
That was very important.
Yeah. And so fine. So you've got this woman inside the embassy.
Yeah.
She could be ISI. She could be planted there by the ISI. And yet you have to take a call that we have to protect her.
Correct.
That's the decision that JP Singh took. In a situation where he cannot get answers from his superiors, like a deputy high commissioner is not really senior.
Yeah.
I mean, usually a deputy high commissioner is a senior guy, and especially in Pakistan. But in this case, he was an officer with just about maybe 12 to 15 years service.
Correct. And there was no one present when he had to make that decision.
The high commissioner wasn't there. Yeah.
So it was a tough decision, and it was amazing.
So if I remember correctly, Gautam Bambavle and the High Commissioner was in India for a mission meeting that was happening here.
Honestly, you know this, you know the film, you know the script better than I do. And it's fantastic that you're saying that. And I had to play that all at the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But Gaurav, what was more important, just like you, when you talk to me, when you do the show, you know what you're talking about. I needed to know the geopolitical history of whatever's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So even when I'm standing there and talking to someone, like I'm talking to you now, if I don't know my background, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation. And that had to show in my eyes to my audience.
With your interaction with Uzma and with your interaction with the Pakistani diplomats, there's one thing that I found very fascinating about your film. It's happening at a time when India-Pakistan relations are tense, and yet, you know, that time 2017, LC was very hot.
Correct.
There were serious exchanges happening at the line of control. A lot of diplomacy was very tough. And yet, you've shown Pakistanis not as evil, but the good guys and the bad guys in this film.
Correct. And I think credit to my director, credit to my writer, Ritesh Shah. You know, because the brief that even I had given was, listen, to show yourself as better, you don't have to show someone else as bad.
This is our culture, actually.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, which is a fact, right? So we showed the good and the bad side of Pakistan. Like there is a good and a bad side in India.
Yeah.
You don't need to really be jingoistic about it. And that's
why...
why...
Which you're not in this film.
Correct.
Which is
the
amazing.
Judiciary system of Pakistan, that time I think the judge was Judge Niazi.
You're right. Yeah, judge, I think Kayani or Niazi.
Kayani was Kayani was judge.
Yeah.
But we've shown the judiciary system as fair.
Yeah.
We've shown a lot of things on the face of it like they were.
Yeah.
So everything wasn't really bad there. And I think that's what you walk out with, that you really appreciate the honesty and the integrity with which we have shown this film, and not to bow down to the commercial diktats. कि यार ये film चलेगी अगर पाकिस्तान को थोड़ा तोड़ा हम लोगों ने. We've not done that.
But the fact is, Pakistan को तोड़ा था, but just the right way.
Correct.
Legally.
Correct.
Legally. और उसमें पाकिस्तान की लोगों ने, they did the right thing. The judiciary did the right thing.
They were correct thing at that time. Moon Sayyid, who was a lawyer then, they're fantastic thing at that. So we've shown everything the way it was meant to be shown.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And since we were reporting some of these things, though some in hindsight, some right then. So, for example, there's a very... Can I mention what I saw?
Please, just go freewheeling. I don't know why we are guarded. Just go...
There's one thing which I found really fascinating was when JP Singh, the character you play, brings in the husband that assaulting husband into the High Commission.
That's one of the best scenes.
Oh my God. And then the wife goes and records the statement in court. And then the Pakistani media comes right there.
Correct.
So, and that actually happened. I saw that on Pakistani news.
Wow.
It happened just, it's there. I mean, if people want to cross-check this fact, they can just, go on social media.
It's amazing.
And the fact is the husband comes out and says, wo Indians ne humko dhoka diya. And, I mean, that's how this film, on a scale of 100, not a scale of 10, how real is it and how much creative liberty has the director taken?
I think, honestly, I mean, if I have to really be honest with you, I think there's a 5%, 7% creative liberty that we've taken in this film, which is a wee bit of the shooting that happens in the end. The end. When we talk about creative liberties in our honest, real films, it's 70% creative liberty. This is only 3 or 4%, 5%. So we've been really honest to the film. There's been a lot of pressure on us. Gana dal do, ye karo, wo karo. Nothing. I said, listen, this film will not see the light of day if we corrupt this film. Which is why I'm speaking to someone who's knowledgeable about this rather than anybody. With no disrespect meant to anybody else, but you understand the space, so you understand the film. And that's what I want the youngsters to see, India to see. Okay, this is what makes India cool. We'll pull out, like you said, one of our own, which is brilliant.
No, because I have seen this and I've reported this, and I find this very fascinating. The manner in which Indians have been rescued from Ukraine. I was there in Ukraine when Indians were being rescued from there. Or they've been, recovered from other war-torn countries or strife-torn areas, even from Yemen or Afghanistan, when people have been recovered. It's extremely tough. Because we cover part of foreign policy, or we are in touch with diplomats, so we know how tough they work.
And I love your job.
Thank you very much.
I love your job. I love your job. And you just showed me, but I remember watching this when you were running away from, the shelling in where was this exactly, in Israel?
So once in Ukraine, the other time in Israel. In Eshkelon, in the southern part of Israel. When they were bombing that place, when Hamas was bombing that place.
And this is what I want to educate people on, and Gaurav, this is what you do so well, is people think Israel and Palestine is India, Pakistan, one line. They don't understand the West Bank, they don't understand Gaza. It's so intriguing. When you see Fauda, you get you get goosebumps. There's one thing I was about to tell you. So one, there is I don't want to name another film on Pakistan which is, when you look at you, really well built, really smart. So you'd probably expect hand pump ukhade jayenge ek baar. While I love hand pump ukhadna also, I have nothing against it. But your film depicts the role of our diplomats so well. And if I may, the Afghanistan bit. That amazing. Not only gave me goosebumps, I had tears in my eyes watching that. I mean, we lost our defense attaché, we lost a senior diplomat, we've lost a security personnel in Afghanistan. And you knew them personally.
And you were able to depict that. You were able to depict that in this film without taking away from the main script.
I'm so happy you're saying that, because it's so important to know what we've gone through overseas, because we don't know. And I hope this film brings that to light.
Well, I think it really does. I mean, I've seen the film, and I think it really brings to light the tough task of our diplomats. Is this the first time something like this has happened?
Absolutely.
I mean, you've interacted with JP, you've interacted with our diplomats. Their role hasn't really been highlighted. They're like the silent workers in the background.
Absolutely. Gaurav, when I did Madras Cafe, it was the first time...
Fascinating movie again.
The first time a film like that had happened. When I told someone that I was doing a film called Parmanu, okay, and I remember the narration happening and someone walking out, they said, "Isse buri script, bura idea humne life mein suna nahi." And I smiled.
Really?
Yeah. So all my films that I have produced, my first film was Vicky Donor. When I made Vicky Donor, they said, "Yaar, kya bana rahe ho, yaar?"
And what a film. What a film.
And what a discovery in Ayushman. So I think the Diplomat is a first of its kind, and I'm so proud. And films like this, when I really say commercial success doesn't matter, because the credibility that you walk away with this from a film like this is tenfold.
No, but I think India is changing. I mean, I sincerely wish you all the best, and I think it should do very well, financially for you, so that such films are made even in future. Because one, the hard work Indians do abroad. Like, that message at that Sushma Swaraj press conference, that press conference is, and we cover press conferences every week in the
Correct.
Ministry of External Affairs, perhaps every couple of months when the minister is also there. But with Sushma Swaraj, they're saying that I want every Indian to know, and she's thanking Uzma.
Yeah.
I want every Indian to know that if you're trapped abroad, come to the embassy, you have family or you have friends, or words to that effect that she'd said then.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing.
Gaurav, I saw that in the film. I saw her press conference when we put it in the film. I'm not lying to you. And I'm not lying to you. I'm not pitching this. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
I missed her.
Yeah.
And I said, where is she? I want her back. I want her back.
Yeah.
I really, it was like a heartbreaking moment. And and I have no political inclinations.
True.
You know, I'm a guy who calls a spade a spade.
Yeah.
The half Parsi in me is pretty capable of doing that. So I really felt like I wanted Sushma Swaraj back in the world today. And that's what is so special about this film. And Revati, special mention.
She's actually done it, You know, the way she's standing in the Ministry of External Affairs and talking to this girl in Pakistan. So when we interviewed, I think a colleague of mine had interviewed Uzma Ahmed when she came back. And she'd said that कि वो सुषमा जी थी ना, वो मुझसे बात कर रही थी, तो मुझे लग रहा था मेरी माँ बात कर रही है, watch that effect, you know, she'd said then. So, and that you've been able to bring out. Because it was make or break whether we'll get this lady back from Pakistan or not.
Absolutely. So I mean, credit to the director, Shivam Nair. What a job. And we had to fight a lot of battles, including the studio. Because, you know, everybody comes from a good place. But, you know, you don't want songs, you don't want this, you don't want that. You want to keep the film pure.
Like there could have been a Dukh ka Gana in any Indian movie when she's trapped in Buner. But your depiction of Buner, I've never been to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but it's fascinating. I mean, it does appear as if you're there in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
And you feel claustrophobic when you see this girl hold up with these other women. It's like, man, what is happening? There is a world out there which is so scary for women.
That's another aspect I wanted to ask you. Through this film, you've actually been able to bring out the threat women face, that you meet these very sweet-looking men who may be very helpful. They could be drawing you into a trap. And a trap where some place like Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or that part of Pakistan could well be a human trafficking center. Or women could be trafficked. This is something that girls must know. That everybody who's helping you is not doing you good, maybe trapping you for something that's worse in store.
And Gaurav, did you notice in the film, they're so well versed, even the women, they're so well versed with checking the age of other women through their ankles and their ankles and holding their wrists.
Which means they're telling them
24 saal ki nahi hai, 28 saal ki hai. Just imagine. It is crazy. And I think this is the kind of, India needs to see more of these films. This is important for India. And I remember we took it to the censor board. There was not a single cut. And when our associate producer was walking out, our associate director was walking out, the censor board member said, I've got a 14-year-old son. I want him to see this film, and I think India should watch this film. And that is important. That is important. I'm not looking for, of course, we want commercial success. But, you know, when someone like you tells me you loved it and you know, it really was real, for me, that's the biggest reward. This is a reward for me. And I'm being honest. That's why I was excited that one person has seen the film, and great, we're doing an interview because you've seen it. So you know where I'm coming from. I don't have to hard sell this film.
No, you don't have to hard sell this film at all. You know, because look, I've seen the film. I know the context. I've met JP. I mean, I know JP. I know you and late Sushma ji. This is something that actually comes together. And I've seen our diplomats do this all the time. I mean, they've done that for an Uzma. They've done it for others. They've done it in other parts of the world. And sometimes Indians get trapped in all different parts of the world. In Ukraine, you know, when we were trapped, they were very keen to rescue us. And we said, no, but, you know, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Oh, incidentally, angels is another line that comes, I don't know if it's there in the film or not.
Actually, we edited it from the film. Because there is a line where the driver asked me, saying, "Sir, ये इन्हें आज वापस चकमा देंगे, इन्हें क्या बुलाते हैं?" ऐसे बेटा इन्हें angels बुलाते हैं.
That's such a diplomatic term. So you're like really in.
Yeah. But for edit reasons, that we had to take out that part of the heartbreaking, but we've taken out some really good stuff from the film also.
You must put it back at least for the
Netflix version.
For the OTT version. You know, because I'll tell you why. Each time we interact with our diplomats in Pakistan when they're back or from, in Pakistan, I mean, our diplomats have been beaten up in Pakistan. Including women who've been tailed and tailed very.
We actually use that in the film, यार कि उनकी मर्जी. जब भी चाहे धो डालेंगे.
सही बात.
Yeah.
Which is scary. For it's a violation of all Vienna conventions and Geneva conventions on how diplomats need to be treated. But our diplomats have been beaten up in Pakistan. In one instance, I remember one had to be flown into India on a special medical flight. Was assaulted so bad.
Oh God.
It's that bad. And
oh God.
You've been able to depict that ISI on their motorcycle, it tracks them all the time.
It's a fact.
And all phones tapped, homes tapped. So Pakistan's a very tough posting for diplomats.
I've been to, like you, I've been to Afghanistan.
Yes.
I've spent 3 months. I went for Kabul Express, a film that I did years ago. But I spent time after that. And I stayed back in Afghanistan and I roamed around. And I love the place. It's beautiful.
Afghanistan is beautiful.
And Afghanis are beautiful people.
They are.
Yeah. I look at an Afghani and I say, Man tamame Afghan aura dozdarum. Like we really love people. And my next film, again, it's not a plug because we are speaking about this space, is a film called Tehran.
Oh.
And it's a true incident about an attempt on an Israeli diplomat's life in 2013.
Yes,
outside,
in Delhi.
Correct. And when we did
the next to Taj Mansingh, close to that area.
Yeah. And when we did the forensics, we found out it was not the Pakistanis.
Yeah.
It was the Iranians.
Yeah.
And the story about this guy who then goes there. So I learned Farsi for this film. I learned Hebrew.
Really?
Yeah. So I've spoken Farsi. I've spoken Hebrew. And people said, yaar, ye Hindi film hai, aap aise. I said, listen, we're here to make cinema. And I want a film of mine to go across the world and people to see it and be proud of this.
Absolutely.
And so I've done it. Now people say it's a risk. I say, higher the risk, greater the profits.
Absolutely.
करना चाहिए आपको यार, क्यों नहीं करोगे आप? Have fun. Do the Pathans, do the Dhooms of the world. It's great, and I want to do more of those.
You must. I
really love garam masala, for example. Do more of those.
Absolutely.
But balance it out by doing this as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is very important.
Yeah.
But what makes you choose, movies like Parmanu or Super Cop Batla House,
or Madras Cafe,
or Madras Cafe,
or Diplomat,
because or Diplomat now, because again, Batla House is one movie which is very close to my heart. I covered Batla House, and in this case, you think this will encourage others also to come into the space? What makes you choose them?
I find it difficult for studios to back me on this. So I don't know whether others will come into this space, but hopefully if this film does well, then others will be more empowered. So I hope my audience, my Godfather is my audience, I hope they back me. They watch this film. So we have other filmmakers who feel a little more empowered and want to do this. Like for example, I was discussing with you about Malakal.
Yeah.
I want to do a film in South Sudan.
Wow. And that's again a very fascinating story.
And that is action, so kids will love it.
Yeah. No, everyone must know about Malakal. Everyone must know how difficult is it for the Indian forces to. It's a United Nations. Can I?
Please.
So.
You know the gentleman I am playing in the film, so please, you're the first one to talk about it.
So, the way the Rajputana Rifles Regiment, the Indian Army was deployed there, the action they saw, and the valor of Indian soldiers. So tell me more about Malakal.
So Malakal is a story about the Indians who are a part of the UN peacekeeping force that went to South Sudan.
Yes.
So North Sudan is Muslim, South Sudan is Christian. And there you have two tribes called the Dinkas and the Nuers. And the battle between these two tribes. But anyway, to cut the long story short without giving gyan, how our soldiers go there to protect this one post, against the rebels. So the best analogy that I could draw is 13-hour Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Yeah. And that's exactly how our film is going to look.
Wow.
The battle through the night, we lost a lot of our soldiers, and in the morning we had some surviving soldiers. A lot of action, a lot of adrenaline, and a completely different terrain. But again, I'm so happy that you're an audience for this. I hope a studio backs it tomorrow.
I sincerely hope so too, because the valor of the Indian Army comes out very strong. But it's a great space you're in, and I'm so glad you're doing films like The Diplomat, which shows how Indian diplomacy is there for Indians anywhere in the world.
And we steered clear of action because you don't need to fight. Everybody said, are you going to land a punch? And I said, nahi yaar, this is not that film. Dialogues are his ammunition.
Which indeed they are. Except the last 10 minutes when there's like tak 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 happening.
वो थोड़ा हमने किया है वो उसके अंदर. But it's fun. We had a good time
Yes.
taking that. But that's honestly just a little bit, and we had I think Tahir and Bashir had more fun doing it.
I mean, so did you. I mean,
I loved it.
So it's a beautiful movie, and you must watch it. John,
Thank you.
I wish you all the best
Thank
for
you, Gaurav.
Diplomat.
Thank
It's a
you.
brilliant
Thank you.
movie.
Thank you.
And you must go watch that film. It's all about Bharat ki Shakti, hamari diplomacy ki Shakti, even in a hostile country like Pakistan, where you have some good people also.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Cheers,
Such
mate.
a pleasure.